All right, so I got the switches right here. This is how I wire them up. I put them in the panel backwards, and then I'll wire them up and then flip them around. But the kit came with this bright blue wire. I'm gonna actually end up using this darker blue wire. This stuff hides a little better, looks cleaner. So we're gonna use that up, and it's just gonna be a regular front, back, side to side setup. So I'm just gonna time lapse that, and that'll be it. All right, so I got the switches wired up, and I left a little extra on the loops here because the owner might change to a different switch box or make something custom, so he has to have room to move the switches around. I also left an extra little tail on the power wire so that if he wants to add a switch, because he has a tilt bed on this truck, so if he wants to add the 5th switch, he can hook up there. And these 3 wires I left long so that he could have wires to, well, actually it's only 2 wires, but see, he could have wires for the tilt bed. So I'm gonna flip them around right now, and then I'm gonna go test them. All right, so the way I like to test my switches before I put them in, just to double check them, you know, make sure that everything's crimped good and that I have everything, I didn't mix nothing up, is I get a multimeter, and you want to get to the one where you touch these together and they beep. And then you hook one side of it to the blue wire in the center, which is your power. And then as you go down, whichever switch you're going to test, so I'm going to test the front switch. So I'm going to go to front up, which is my white wire right here. I'm going to hook that up to it right there. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the down. Well, that works still. So I'll do the front down first. And when I hit front down, see how it beeps? That means that it makes connection. And then I'll go to the front up one, which is right here. There's the front up. And when I hit the switch up, it beeps. So you're gonna pretty much just do that for each one. So here's my rear. I don't know if this is down or up, but we'll find out right now. I think it's up. Yep, it's rear up. See how nothing else is making noise. When I hit the side, picks the rear up because that's how side to side works. And then here's the rear down, or one of the rear downs. And then the other rear down is, I believe it's this green one. Yep. And like I said, it's only gonna work on that side. And then my other front down, I believe was gray. Where's gray at? Right there. So I got the gray one and the front down. And it's gonna be this side that clicks over, and that's pretty much how you test them up. All right, so my buddy decided he wanted 10 switches instead of 4. So I just wired up 8 of them right here, and then the 9th one's gonna be a tilt bed, and then we'll figure something out for the last one. But here we go. It was a little bit harder because if I would have known it would have been 8, I would have wired them differently. Like I would have connected all the wires so I didn't have so many of these ring terminals, because putting 2 of those on one thing is a pain in the butt. But it's all right, came out good. So I'm gonna run a test on these real quick and make sure they work up, and those will be done. He's gonna bring me a box, but I just did this so I could wire them beforehand, so when he brings me the box, I can just pull them out and drop them in. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put the solenoids all together, and the reason I'm doing this now is just because when he brings me the truck, I wanna be able to mostly just focus on fabrications and stuff. All this little stuff will already be done. So he's only running 4 batteries, so it's gonna be 2 solenoids per pump. The way I like to do this is I'll take this thing, little couplers, you can get these at the hardware store. I'll turn it in as much as I can, put one nut back on here, and then spin it onto this one. You go as far as you can go, and while they're still flat, and then you take that nut, and you're gonna tie down that nut, and there you go. So, and then you want on the S side of the solenoids, where you want to hook your wires up. So these will be the front solenoids. So I'm just gonna hook the white wire because that's what I have running as my fronts on this. So once you get your little loop on there, try to make it like a nice, even looking loop. That's how I like to do it anyways. And then I'll hold the connector so that wire stays straight. And tighten it down. Put the nut and the lock washer, there it is, onto this side. And then from that point, it's pretty much done. It's one set of solenoids ready to go. So now we'll do the rears. On there, drop it down flat, tighten up that nut, get your wire, and for the rear of this one, I use the purple, so trying to make it as even to this one as possible. Should be around there. And the reason I don't hook the other wire directly into here and make like one chain, because if you're gonna change these, you don't want to cut that wire. So when I actually bring the switches and the switch wire over here, I'll just put another ring on the switch wire and hook it up right on top of that one. And that's pretty much both the solenoids wired up, ready to go. Close up. There they are, ready to go. And I always save these because I tend to lose these on my extra solenoids. I usually keep an extra set, and I always tend to lose those, so I'd keep those. All right, he brought me these batteries, so I put the batteries in, got the solenoids in there. I'm gonna start just wiring up this section of it. I got his other pump out, I got the other solenoid out, I gotta cut those off. But this is a basic setup for a pump rack, you know. You just kind of, this is a piece of 1/2 inch and C-channel. They weld it together and you drill some holes. And then I'll show you guys another way to do it. That'll make sense. Alright, so this is where I left off last night. I got the solenoids in, I got the power wires to the solenoids from the 48 volts. Also got the power wire from the 12 volts, ran to this solenoid, which is gonna run it still bed. I got all the batteries wired up, and then I got this is the ground wire that goes inside the truck. So what I'm gonna do now is, I got this terminal block that I'm gonna mount right here. And I'm gonna start hooking up the power wires from the switch box. Oh yeah, I also got the switch wire ran out of the car, ran here. And Start hooking it up to all the solenoids and running the dump wires out to the back. Alright, so I got all my wires hooked up to the distribution block, and then just one didn't fit me because I didn't have one with 8 or 9 wires. So I got this one for the tilt, I got the solenoid going there, and the purple for the rear solenoids, white for the front solenoids. And I'm gonna clean all this wiring up and probably lumen up real nice, but I'm gonna do that at nighttime because I want to use most of my daylight to do all the fabricating and stuff. So this later tonight, I'm gonna clean all this wiring up. I tightened up all the batteries too, so that's good to go. So I'm gonna give it a quick test to make sure it all works. So I got everything hooked up to power. I'm gonna ground that wire inside the truck temporarily, and I'm gonna hit the switches, make sure all the solenoids click, and make sure everything's working. Alright, everything's working. That part's done. Alright, I got the pumps mounted in, except this one. I gotta rebuild this one still. So I'm gonna start running all the wires to there. I got some of the hoses routed. It's a universal kit, so I'm just kind of stuck with whatever hoses they gave me. So yeah, but I'm gonna start getting these hoses in place, and some more wiring ran back there. Right, these pumps are all wired up. I got them ran. This is for the tilt bed pump, but I gotta rebuild it still. So I'm gonna cut all these zip ties tomorrow during the day so I can see. Yeah, all the wirings, and I gotta cut that off. So I gotta hook up a ground inside this truck, and I'm gonna put some oil in it, and this thing should go up and down right now. here she is. Went ahead and gave it a quick wash. Check it out. Greased up the cylinders, put some clamps to hold the hoses. Got no leaks in the front. Here it is, here's all the wiring. I put that other pump back in there, I cleaned it up and rebuilt it.